So, welcome to part 2 of of your first program tutorial. Now I'll explain what the code does. So, if you typed it all right, you can click run and you can run it and you can play around. So let's type in how many hours did I work. Let's just type in like 3.5. And how much do I get paid per hour? 9.8. And that's how much I got paid. Okay, so let's start at the top of the code. We start with include IOStream. The IOStream allows us, it imports files that allow us to use the, input and output functions in our keyboard. So, yeah. And then when you're a beginner to programming C++, you usually just use the namespace std. Now the main function is the function that your program always reads first. So for example, in my other project called book, I have 4 source files, and in one of them there's only one main function because that's the one that the program goes first. After that, we have another line of code called double, hours, rate, and pay. As you can see, double is purple because that's defining hours, rate, and pay as the variables. There's 2 different types of variables. You have integers and floating point variables. And here we're using floating point variables because that allows us to use decimals. Like for example, in my output here I used 3.5 and 9.8. If I used integers, it would just truncate the integer. So for example, if say you add 3.2 plus 3.2, that would be 6.4. If that was an integer, it would just be 6. It would just delete the point 4, yeah. And truncating is different from rounding, because rounding, if you're say your number is 6.9, you round, it would be 7.0, but if you truncate 6.9, it would be 6. So like I said, I just defined my variables, hours, rate, and pay. The code that has these 2 slashes, the forward slashes, is comments. This is ignored by the compiler. This just helps you, like this tells me what's going on. Now the other line of code after the comment is count, which is it's read C out, and this is basically gonna display stuff in the console. So it says here C out, how many hours did you work? And as you can see here, it asks me how many hours did you work. And the double arrow thingies is like what I call them. It's basically like an arrow. Think of it as an arrow pointing to what you're doing. And here, sin, it's read as cin. And that allows you to input numbers. So my first thing asks me, how many hours did you work? And then it asks me. So here I can input 3.5. That's basically what this does. I think in Eclipse, if you mouse over something, it'll tell you. I don't know what that is. Anyways, that's basically it for this code. It's, input and display. And then you have some basic math. So pay equals hours times rate. If you don't understand this, don't even try programming. This is like the most basic math you could ever do. And then, of course, you have the output. You have earned pay, and then end L, which means end the line. End line. It basically creates a space. So you can't see the space, but it creates a space. You could also use that, if that is the same as end L. And that's not a 1, that's a L. Has to be an L, make sure. You always use an L. And then I have system pause. That is this, press any key to continue. That just pauses the program until I press enter or any other key. And return 0 is nice to have because it just tells the program that it completed successfully. And that's how the program works. Thanks for watching.